Are we on? Right, it's nice to see everybody. And first of all, I just need to apologise to the committee for not having been here for one or two meetings because I've not been very well. I'm on the mend, but my knees aren't working, but the rest of me is. But whilst I've been away, I have been keeping up with what's been going on. I've had lots of long chats with Chris. I've watched on YouTube. I've read minutes. So I do know what we've all been up to. So I'm up to speed. I also know there was an appeal, and I know all sorts of stuff. The other thing I wanted to say, there was a challenge on YouTube from one of the members about the minutes. Just let's make this clear, that the minutes are a record of the meetings, and they're a record of what went on at the meeting, and they're also a record of the decisions that are made, and they're also, if we are not at the meetings, the trust that we place in the other committee members to make those decisions based on their experience and the information in front of them. So in the past, I have voted on minutes that I haven't been at the meeting for because I've put that trust in everybody in the offices and in the other committee members. So just to clarify that if anybody's got any doubts about voting for minutes that you weren't at the meeting, that is the reasoning behind it. Okay, everybody? Yeah. Put your microphone on.
I'd like to know the rationale still. I still cannot for the life of me understand why anybody who wasn't at a private meeting that isn't on YouTube would vote for minutes when they weren't in the meeting.
Yeah. It's your choice to abstain if you wish to abstain, but it's common practice for that to happen in all meetings. And we have a book that is known as the Bible for all things committee called Knowles, and he acknowledges that this is what happens sometimes. For example, if there's been an election and people who are no longer there.
Just interrupt. That's not what I asked. I'm asking specifically about if you're not at a private closed meeting. We're not talking about what's on YouTube now. We're talking about private meetings with a subcommittee. If you're not there, I don't see how rightfully you can vote that the minutes are accurate if you wasn't there.
Just abstain if you don't want to. It is accepted practice that is what happens. So I don't know how to explain it to you clearer than that.
Why don't planning do that?
They do that. All committee. They might choose to abstain.
They don't vote for the minutes.
They do.
They don't. I've watched enough of them. Oh, and you shouldn't be proposing seconding minutes either if you're not at that particular meeting that we're voting on.
No, well, meeting. We're not talking about anybody else's meeting. This is what happens here. It's happened at, let's have it right, at council meetings, but people will either vote or abstain if they weren't there. But we trust the people who were at the meeting to have made the decisions, given their knowledge, given the advice that they're given, and that's part of the trust in the other members of the committee as well. So if you're not there, it's your choice to abstain. Well, okay. Right, so we'll move on now. Otherwise, we're here all day or all night. Okay. Right, I shall go through all the welcoming introductions now. Thank you for attending, everybody. And before we start, I just want to outline some housekeeping rules. There are no planned fire alarms. Have you got something else to say, Councillor? Because you can say it out loud if you have. Are you sure? Okay. So there's no planned fire alarms. And if one does go off, please leave by the exit. Shall I do the there and there? You can do the business. You know where to go. Can you please put your mobile phones on silent or switch them off? Thank you. I don't think we've got anybody. Have we got people dialed in on Teams? Yeah? No? No members dialing in Teams. But you can, if there are anybody, you can join in the meeting, but you won't be able to vote. And this meeting is going to be recorded and it's live streamed on YouTube, and the web link for this is displayed on the agenda for the meeting, which can be found on the council's website. Members on Teams are asked to keep their microphones on mute and only unmute if they're asked to speak. And can I remind members to unmute themselves once they have finished speaking to enable the meeting to proceed smoothly. Right, we'll move on now. Item 1, apologies. Have we got any apologies, Ruth?
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Peter Gabbett and Councillor Leslie Pritchard is substituting.
Yeah.
And Councillor Harry Hancock with Councillor Ange Turner.
And I'm
substituting. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Can I just say that Peter got married on Friday, so he'll be on his honeymoon, so that's why he's not here. Well, I presume that's why he's not here. So congratulations to Peter. But I'm sure he's not on YouTube. I'm sure he's not watching on YouTube. Right, declarations of interest. Has anybody, members are requested to indicate at this stage in the proceedings any items on the agenda in which they intend to declare an interest? Members are reminded that the interest is a disclosure, penury interest. They must leave the room for the whole of that item. Is there anybody got anything? No, good. Nothing, no interest to dig out, good. So we'll move on. So we're going to the minutes of the Licensing and Public Safety Committee. Now, I've got the minutes of the last meeting of the Licensing and Public Safety Committee that was held on the 14th of January. Now, they're in front of me for approval. Are there any points of accuracy in the minutes? First of all, anybody got any points of accuracy? No? Have I got who wants to propose these?
Proposed,
You
yeah.
propose. Anybody wants to second? Yeah, you were there. Okay. Right. Are we happy with those minutes? Yes. Everybody? Anybody not happy with the minutes? Okay. You're going to abstain. Fine. Okay. Well, that's gone through on the majority. Okay. Thank you. And now we've got the minutes of the meeting on the 10th of December. Again, has anybody got any points of accuracy? No? Nobody? 10th of December. Right. Yeah. Sorry, Annie.
The 14th of January.
On the 14th of January as well. Any points of accuracy on the 14th of January? No? Does anybody want to propose?
I'll propose that, Chair.
Right. Thank you. Are we happy with those minutes? Anybody abstaining? You're abstaining. Are you abstaining? You were here. Right. Fine. Okay. Lovely. Right. They've gone through on a majority. Thank you for that. Right, and now we're on item 6, aren't we? We're on item 6, which is the Licensing Act Review, a Statement of Licensing Policy. This can be found on page 11 if anybody's interested, and I'm going to invite Chris Ward to present this item.
Thank you, Chair. So just as a guide to help through the report, I've done a quick PowerPoint for members. If you just bear with me a moment, I'll just share my screen. Okay, so the Licensing Act 2003, Review of Statement of Licensing Policy. So the recommendations to members today are to note the amendments within the draft policy proposed within the report and to confirm that the draft policy will be sent out for a period of consultation. Agree to receive a report at a later date with the consultation responses, and agree to extend the current policy for a further 6 months to allow for the Council's constitution review, which is to conclude, which is currently running at the moment, so the delegations within the policy don't conflict those within the scheme of delegations that will be in the constitution. So the purpose of the Statement of Licensing Policy, so the Council's Licensing Policy, Statement of Licence Policy sets out the way that the Council will generally promote the licensing objectives, which are prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The policy promotes the principles applied when carrying out our statutory licensing duties and considering making decisions on applications made under the Licensing Act 2003. Details on how licensing premises should operate and informs our decisions on whether to issue licenses and what conditions to attach. The Statement of Licensing Policy is used by applicants, residents, businesses and responsible authorities alike. Residents and businesses should review the licensing policy when considering an application near to them. So Section 5 of the Licensing Act 2003 requires the licensing authority to determine and publish a statement of licensing policy at least every 5 years. The policy must be published before it's carried out any further licensing functions, and the current policy is due to expire in 2025. The policy currently, and it's in its draft form, and it will be developed further as proper consultation with the statutory consultees, and as required by the Licensing Act, plus other interested parties. A list of proposed consultees are included within the policy document. The consultation exercise will give responsible authorities and interested parties chance to make representations to add, amend or remove sections of the policy. The proposed policy has not been drawn up at the moment and it's not in isolation. And whilst the proposed policy is tailored specifically to needs of the area of the licensing authority, officers have researched other recent policies adopted in other areas. There's no proposed fundamental changes to the policy, but there are some small changes which have been made and identified within the report. As public safety is paramount, the concerns for licensing authorities from time to time, statutory guidance does change to address concerns raised within the licensing remit. The proposed policy changes have been made to address these additions to statutory guidance and recognise any local issues. So far, proposed changes are the removal of obsolete or unnecessary information, minor revisions of dates, updating the live music exemptions, revisions to the cumulative impact statement wording, integrated strategy and avoiding any duplication on the policy. Additions to the policy that we've added in: spiking prevention and tackling sexual harassment and preventing violence against women and girls, large-scale events and festivals paragraphs, event safety advisory group and alcohol delivery. So what is cumulative impact? So the cumulative impact is potential impact to the promotion of the licensing objectives for a significant number of premises in one concentrated area. An early morning restriction order restricts the sales of alcohol for any specified period between 12 at night and 6 in the morning, if considered appropriate within a licensed area. The cumulative impact policies limits the number of premises in one area. This means that the application for new premises within that area or club premises certificates or full variations would normally be refused. Historically, we've not had any evidence to support any cumulative impact policies in South Ribble or early morning restriction orders. But part of the consultation process will request crime statistics from the police within that consultation exercise. So we will find out either way whether there is an evidence base, and that will be brought back before members with the consultation responses. So the policy forms part of the Constitution policy framework, which is under review by exercise at the moment. Members are asked that the current policy be extended for another 6 months until past August 2025 in its current form. This will allow for any recognised changes in the Constitution which may affect this policy, and members will be informed of any changes to the Constitution that may affect the policy within the consultation responses when this report comes back before you. So currently we're asking members to agree to an extension for 6 months on the current policy and agree to a consultation exercise on the proposed policy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chris. Right, now I'm going to open this up now for any discussion, questions to Chris. Anybody want to?
Chair, appreciate that. Yeah, Chris, I don't know if you've got this. It would help me though, because I'm on the Constitution Working Party group. Do you have a list of the conditions in the Constitution which this policy could have an impact on? The paragraphs, the areas of the Constitution where it would have an impact. Do you have a list of that? I mean, if not, then you don't. But
it's not currently, it's under review at the moment, isn't it? So at the
Constitution.
Minute, the Constitution.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm on the working group. I just wondered if you had a list of.
Not yet. No, it's still being worked on at the moment by officers. So that's why, I guess that's why we can't be bringing a policy in place, and then it conflicts what's in the Constitution. That's why we're asking for that extension at the moment.
I just thought you might.
Not yet. Okay. No.
It's all right. No problem.
Anybody else want to question anything? Yes. Yes, Matthew.
Sorry. I think there's quite a few points in this in these proposals that are a bit of a power grab, to say the least. I'd like to know the rationale behind why, if a premises has its license reviewed, you would basically could reserve the right to start regulating their unregulated entertainment.
So as part of the Live Music Act that came in place, all premises can stay open till 11 o'clock with music. If that creates a noise nuisance, the premises licence can be reviewed and conditions be put in place to restrict music before 11. That's the Licensing Act. It's within the Licensing Act.
Okay.
That's the only way that music can be restricted before 11. So if a new application comes in, it can't be restricted before 11 o'clock because it's not regulated till after 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But if that premises causes a nuisance as part of the review application, the police, environmental health, a member of public can ask for times to be reduced down, and then that's up to the panel then whether they make a decision to reduce that, and they can do. That will go into a different annex, so the conditions will be added after a hearing.
Okay, because the point 3.5, if someone wants to have a look. Okay, so I understand why you want to control and regulate entertainment if it was a statutory noise nuisance issue, but it doesn't say that on the point. The point says, upon a review of the premises licence, the licensing authority can determine that the conditions on the premises licence relating to live or recording music will apply between 8 AM and 11 PM. It doesn't say only if it's a noise nuisance issue.
Well, it isn't only if it's a noise nuisance. So it could be that the licence has been put before the committee for a review, and that is one of the options to reduce down. They can take away a licensable activity, or they can reduce the timings down. That's one of the options to committee as part of a review.
So why are you adding it now when it wasn't there before?
It should have been in before.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that we're looking at the policy, we're looking at bits that are missing and trying to correct that, which is why this is being put in now, because it's been an obvious omission in the past. Because at some point somebody has complained about the noise in a establishment, and we realised it wasn't in the policy, so it has to be in the policy now. Is that the right way? Yeah.
If we didn't have, I understand what you're saying. If we didn't have that last paragraph, though, that would be basically saying that we can't touch premises for music before 11 o'clock, which by law we can do. If it's becoming a noise nuisance, a licence can be reviewed, and you could knock music down till 7 o'clock if the panel saw fit. That makes sense. So any new premises, you don't need music on your licence because you're exempt until 11 o'clock. If that's then abused, it can be taken away by a review of an application. It can be completely removed, or the timings can be reduced down. If we didn't have that last paragraph in there, that's basically stating all premises have got music before 11 o'clock and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, there is something we can do about it, and we can review the licence. So it's giving you, the whole point of the Licensing Act is that we give them chance to promote the licensing objectives, and if that's abused, then it's taken away as part of a review.
Just one more then. So it's in the list of public consultees. How are we going to engage in the licensed premises community to get their input into it?
The consultation will get sent out to every premises. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, Paul.
Thank you. I think it's right that we're doing a holistic look at the whole policy and actually making sure that things are put in. I'm very much in favour of the proactive stance we're going for, particularly in response to spiking of drinks and domestic and other sorts of abuse. One thing I'm wondering is whether we can particularly look at the tackling harassment towards women and girls part and make that more gender neutral, because obviously there is incidences of male domestic violence as well, and they are well known within our community. So I'm wondering whether we could potentially amend that slightly and make it more gender neutral, so that it basically tackles harassment against anyone effectively, rather than just that specific, just women and girls.
Yeah, can't see that being a problem. What we have followed is the statutory guidance, which states women and girls. Will completely agree with that. If you want to send through an email putting representation to say this is what I want adding, then that's absolutely fine. We can bring that back in the revision of the policy.
I will
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll email and put that in as a recommendation. Yeah, good. Anything else from anybody? Yes, James.
It's just a quick one. I'm sure you said it. I just may have missed it. When does the current thing run out, and when are we extending it from?
The end of April, so it would be 6 months after April, the expiry of that policy.
Okay.
We envisage that the constitution will be sorted by then. Yeah, thank you. As well, Chair, there is a committee meeting in June, so if the constitution's sorted by then, it'll be brought back to you at the next meeting, basically.
So it would come to full council in July?
Yeah.
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 Brilliant. Anybody else want anything? Now's your opportunity. Have you got anything to say? No? Have a little think before we move on. No? Thanks, Chris. That's very comprehensive. I presume we've all read it before we came to the meeting. I think the spiking thing and the Ask Angela thing are certainly national issues, and I think it's really important that we've got them in our policy as a very positive response. And I think thanks, Chris, for all your hard work for that. So there we go. I think we now have to just say we go to the vote and we say we accept it or we don't. I will propose the vote. Anybody want to second that? Paul? Sorry?
We're voting on that.
Yeah, we're going to be voting on to note the amendments and confirm that the draft policy be sent out for a period of consultation detailed in the report, and to agree to extend the current policy for a further 6 months to allow for the council's consultation to review to conclude, so that the delegations with the policy align with those set out in the council scheme of delegation. So basically it's going out to consultation, and we're quite happy for that to happen, and hopefully all that will be done and we can take it to full council in July. Okay. Yeah, we'll take the vote now. All in favour or in favour? Anybody against? You're against? No. You just kept your hand up. Yeah, it's like not turning your hand off on the thing, isn't it? Yeah. So that's all right. So we're all in favour of that. Thank you very much, Chris, for all that hard work. Let's hope it goes through without any hassle. And I think the gender thing is the important bit that we can add to. We need to write we'll write an email for that. Okay, everybody happy with Paul and I to put an email together about the gender specific? Right, brilliant.